gang? I hope you are very well. Welcome to this week's level up video / podcast. We are going to get into today's topic, which is how to onboard like a pro. Okay. I think that a lot of people are so fucking obsessed with how to onboard a client, but I'm going to show you one of the most effective ways and the quickest way to onboard your client. Okay. So say, for example, you've made a sale. Fantastic. Great. Congrats. Okay. One of the quickest ways to onboard a client is to give them a generic plan and say, can you give me a food diary? Right? The amount of coaches that I work with that show me their onboarding process, and it's like, wow. Okay. It's mental. So they can give them like a programming questionnaire. They'll give them obviously the payment link. They'll then have like a 2 or 3 day turnaround where they're working their ass off trying to set them up for the Monday, for example. One of the best things you can do, okay, is push back, give them a generic plan, get them to create a food diary. Okay, we'll talk about like bodybuilding athletes in a second. Give them a generic food diary. They would bring it back to you. You can assess what's happening. So for example, they're having like 6 fucking coffees each with like 4 sugars in. You can just rip that out straight away. They're saying that they're not eating a lot, but they're still gaining weight. That's why. They're not tracking the oils and stuff like that. So essentially they're going to give you a food diary. They're also going to give you their food preferences because you can see what they eat, right? You can see their habits, what they like to eat, where they're going wrong in week 1. So in week 2, what you can do is basically tweak everything versus rushing for like the 3 days, creating a food diary of which you're going to have to tweak back and forth because they've basically put something in the what do you like to eat type thing that they don't like eating. It's really strict, the meal plan. So essentially this is what most online coaches do. Most online coaches, what they'll do is they'll take payment, they will then set someone up, the meal plan will be super strict, the training program will be super strict, they have a supplement routine as well, and then the client does this. And that's being overwhelmed. That's the face of overwhelmed, by the way. They just become overwhelmed. And when they become overwhelmed, they will never do anything. So what you want to do is start slow. Okay, your client has basically come to you at a place of like not knowing a lot of stuff, and you've basically come at them from a standpoint of like, here's everything, here's a kitchen sink. Okay, you basically want to backtrack. You want to do the opposite. So what you want to do is just give them a generic plan, get them to train, get them to just move. Okay, and then get that food diary back, tweak everything in week 2, tweak the training program accordingly, go from there. Right, baby step them. Okay. But yeah, if you have a bodybuilding athlete and they've given you macros, yeah, your onboarding process is going to look slightly different. They're giving you macros, your turnaround time is going to be pretty quick, right? What I would still do is give them a fairly generic training program just so you can see like intensity and just see what you're working with, right? Because some athletes, especially because I used to work with bodybuilding athletes, some athletes, their intensity was shy, their execution was actually pretty piss poor. So what we'd do is we'll spend the first couple of weeks with a generic plan, just improving execution, just seeing what's going on, what their leverages are like. Can they perform a bench press? Can they perform a bent over row, for example? Can they perform an RDL? Really basic movement patterns and then tweak. But the biggest take home that I would have from this video is don't onboard a client and then basically what will happen is that you give them a lot of stuff and they get overwhelmed, right? So I suppose like we try to impress the client week 1, but when you start impressing them week 1, they get overwhelmed. So start them off slow and then turn the dial, okay? Because that will just stop overwhelm and it will actually like almost like help them groove into your service. So if you play a game like, I don't know, I'm trying to think of like a Mario game, for example. You can tell I play a lot of games, right? But if you play Mario, right? Level 1 is not hard. Level 2 is not hard. Level 3 is not hard. They get harder. That's what you want to do. Where a lot of online coaches go wrong is they start online coaching at like level 10, right? They turn up the intensity, and then all of a sudden the client keeps failing and they'll leave. Start them off slow, build momentum, right? And then as they go, get it increasingly harder. They're struggling, right? We need to fix that. Go from there. But your onboarding process is so simple, super simple. Okay. So yeah.